Hello wonderful viewers, and welcome to my channel. I am Sara, the Cedar Moon Witch, and today we are exploring the Magdalene. Today the soul faces its third trial, and the third trial is that of ignorance. This is the tarot spread that I have made for the soul's third trial, and that we'll be using that. But before we get into the tarot, I want to reiterate that I am using the Nag Hammadi scriptures. Specifically, I am using the Gospel of Mary. And in particular, I am using the part where Mary Magdalene, we're under the assumption that this was Mary Magdalene's writing. I am using this part where she describes the 7 powers of wrath or the devil or demons. I am referring to it as the ego because I think through reading it that it's clear that she is speaking about the ego, the mask that we wear, that we project. You know, the ego that says my name, my favorite color, my favorite food, my job, my religion, you know, ego. So, is there anything else? Yes, okay, so, the soul's third trial is ignorance, and the first trial that the soul faced was darkness, and I had to think about what is the difference between darkness of the ego, you know, darkness, and what's the difference between ignorance. And the first trial of darkness was just darkness. Darkness without light, without that recognition that there is a spark within you that is separate from your ego. That darkness separates you from your heart, from your intuition, from your higher self, whatever word you want to use it for. That darkness tells you that you are your name, your age, your ethnicity, your sex, your job, your religion, you know? And it's just an identification with only those aspects. The soul's second trial was desire. So the second trial the soul faced was distinguishing the soul's desire from the ego's desire, right? Because the mask that we wear, the people who we are, you know, our experiences, our likes and our dislikes, that is all ego. And ego wants something completely different from what the soul wants, because the ego is fleeting, isn't it? We humans, we might live to be 80, 90 years old, God willing, if we're lucky, right? But even in the grand scheme of forever, 80 years is nothing. So our ego wants things. It wants shiny things. It wants good food. It wants heating when it's cold, and it wants air conditioning when it's cool. Those are all ego desires. But the soul's desire, what the soul wants, that is unchanging. That lasts throughout eternity because the soul is eternal. And now we're on the third trial, which is ignorance. So, to put this ignorance into perspective, ego, us, our minds, our brains, we only know what we know. We only know what we ourselves have experienced, or we only know what those close to us have experienced. If we read and we study, we know more. But at the end of the day, ego only knows what it knows. Ego can think of the future and future possibilities, right? I mean, if your mind is, like active, you can imagine the future and how things might happen, and you can plan steps out to hopefully get you to that point, right? But the soul, its knowledge is unchanging. It knows everything, because your soul, that spark within you, that part of you that is eternal, and therefore it knows everything. Whereas the ego's knowledge is limited. It only knows what it knows. The soul is vast and expansive, and it knows everything. Let me see. I wrote this quote by Rumi down, and I love it so much, and I think that it's applicable to the third trial of the soul. And it says, everyone sees the unseen in proportion to the clarity of their hearts. Everyone sees the unseen in proportion to the clarity of their hearts. So, if I say that, I view the heart as the seat of the soul, the seat of the spirit. The seat of the higher self is in your heart. Whereas the mind is the seat of ego. So, the clearer your heart, the more in tune you are with your heart, the more you can see beyond just what the ego has to offer. Okay. So, all of that said, I want to do my tarot spread. The way I have it set up here is not how I'm going to lay it out, because I have a tiny little reading table. But if you want to try this tarot spread, you can find it in the community tab on YouTube, or you can check me out on Instagram. I post my spreads over there as well. So, the deck I am going to use is the Tarot of Light by Tony Carmine Salerno. And I guess I will just get into shuffling. Oh, wow, it's like I forgot how to shuffle. I should also say, because some of you might be wondering, well, why through Mary Magdalene, right? Why exploring the Magdalene? Well, because I was reading the Nag Hammadi scriptures, and I realized that there was a Gospel of Mary attributed to Mary Magdalene, and I thought this would be an interesting way to really study and understand what was going on. And also, if you aren't religious at all, so far in the 3 or 4 weeks that I have been doing this, the correlation between this particular practice and shadow work, it's very, very similar. Especially if you approach it from a Jungian perspective, which You know, like I like to read and learn things, and I like to apply different things in different ways. So this is kind of shadow work, right? Anyway, so I have 4 questions here. The first question is the ego's lens, because remember, the ego only knows what it knows. The ego only knows what it has personally experienced or seen or read. So the first question is the ego's lens. How is the ego limiting my perspective? How is the ego limiting my perspective? And question number 2 is the soul's truth. What deeper wisdom is the soul inviting me to remember? Because remember, the soul's knowledge is vast and expansive and just a deep well to be tapped into. So what deeper wisdom is the soul inviting me to remember? The third question is the bridge. How can I reconcile the ego's knowledge with the soul's truth? Because the ego isn't bad. The ego serves a function, serves a purpose in our lives, and is not bad. It's just that sometimes we allow our egos to influence us in ways that we should not. So the bridge, how can I reconcile the ego's knowledge with the soul's truth? And the fourth question, the path. How can I soothe the ego as I walk the soul's path? Because sometimes the ego wants us to stop and back off to protect us, right? That is part of the ego's purpose, is protection. So how can we soothe the ego as we walk the soul's path? Am I even on screen? That is just always my question. Well, kinda, sorta. Okay, let me put the deck away. Okay, so the ego's lens. How is the ego limiting my perspective? 7 of stars is faith? Oh, I have to get the guidebook, because I think stars are... What are stars? Stars are wands. So how is the ego limiting my perspective? 7 of stars or wands. The soul's truth. What deeper wisdom is the soul inviting me to remember? Page of trees. The bridge. How can I reconcile the ego's knowledge with the soul's truth? Page of angels. Mysticism. And 4, the path. How can I soothe the ego as I walk the soul's path? The teacher, guidance. The teacher, the Hierophant. That has come up before, hasn't it? So, let me go through here. How is the ego limiting my perspective with the 7 of wands? Sorry for the brief interruption. Where are we? Here. Okay, so the ego's lens. How is ego limiting my perspective? It is limiting my perspective. This is the 7 of wands. It's limiting my perspective just because it's putting up a barrier to learning. The 7 of wands is about defense and defending your territory, your things, your ideas, your beliefs. And the ego desperately wants to cling to what it knows. The soul's truth. What deeper wisdom is the soul inviting me to remember? The page of trees. Trees are earth. So this is the page of earth. Pentacles, coins, whatever. The soul is inviting me to remember that I have the ability to bring into existence anything that I want to bring into existence. And that can be good or that can be bad, because my thoughts, my beliefs, my attitude towards the world is always shaping my reality. And that is the soul's truth, the page of trees. I am in control of the reality that I decide to create. The bridge. How can I reconcile the ego's knowledge with the soul's truth? Page of angels. Angels are swords, so this is the page of swords. How can I reconcile the ego's knowledge with the soul's truth? I can be open to learning new things. I can be open to hearing different perspectives. And I can trust that it's all for the best. You know, there is never a time where opening your mind is a bad thing. I think opening your mind without proper filters to what you're absorbing can be bad. But I think that staying open to possibilities beyond what I have personally experienced is a good first step on that bridge, right? And then the path. How can I soothe the ego as I walk the soul's path? The teacher. I can be the teacher for my own ego. I can reparent myself, right? When a thought comes up and I recognize that it is a thought that doesn't align with what I want to create here in this page of trees, I can take the opportunity to be the teacher for my ego, for my thoughts. That is interesting, isn't it? Let's see, what is underneath? Underneath is the star. There is so much hope. So much to learn. Ah, that is good. That is so good. I like that. So, this has been exploring the Magdalene, the soul's third trial, facing the ignorance of the ego. Oh, wow, that was very dramatic. I want to thank you so much for being here with me. Bless you if you have made it all the way through. Thank you. Leave a comment. Let me know. Are you exploring the Magdalene, or are you taking the tarot spreads and at least trying them out? I imagine you could try it with any deck and under any perspective. You know, this is just the one that I decided to go with. So yeah, give me a like, comment, let me know, what do you think? Subscribe if this is your kind of jam, and if it's not your kind of jam, I will be back with a different tarot video sometime soon. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.